Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Podcast Demastered. I'm Chelsea, and I'm here with Wade as always. And we're continuing here in this month of May, celebrating the Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. So our last episode, we talked about the book Farewell to Manzanar, and on this episode, we're going to be covering a movie. Now, this 2018 film, which, according to some articles I read, it became the highest-grossing romantic comedy of the last 10 years when this movie was released.
That's something.
I know. It's a big deal. And I mean, yeah, I think this was, yes, a very well-received movie. I think plenty of people saw it, but we are going to talk about it in this episode. And this movie is Crazy Rich Asians.
Not crazy rich Asians. They're just so rich that they're crazy rich.
Yeah, crazy rich.
Crazy rich.
And boy, do you get a taste of that in this movie. All the glamour, all
just
the
like
everything.
The opening shot. Just the opening portion. Oh, you be racist to me? Okay, I'll buy your hotel.
Yep. I'll show you who's boss. And man, what a cast too. I mean, this movie was such a big deal at the time because just to have such a huge Asian-led film, and just, I think the last big film that actually had like an Asian cast that like was seen by most Americans was probably the Joy Luck Club, but that movie came out in like, what, the early 90s or something, so finally to have a movie. And this movie also, according to Ke Huy Quan, was the movie that made him want to get back into acting and really got him into that. Yeah, because he was like, he's like, finally this movie came out, and he's like, this is what I've been waiting for. And then look where he is now, Oscar winner, ready to take it all on. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool. That's a good fun fact. I didn't know that.
Yeah. But speaking of Ke Huy Quan, which reminds me of Everything Everywhere All at Once, who do we have in this movie?
Only the queen herself.
Yes. And boy, does she play quite a different queen than she is in. Yeah.
You finally get like not quite like villain Michelle Yeoh, like Mean Girl Michelle Yeoh, you know, sort of evil stepmother Michelle Yeoh. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, no, it definitely vibes like that. Yes, and I think it's kind of funny because I think she always wears her hair up really tight or something in this movie, so she looks very different than like.
Oh yeah, and her hair is just really short too, compared to like a bunch of other stuff. Yeah. Yeah,
but I guess we can dive into the cast, or we can talk about the story first.
Oh, let's go story first.
Okay, so we have our main character is named Rachel Chu, and she is an economics professor who has a boyfriend whose name is Nick Young. And they've been dating for what, like a year or so?
Something like that. Not too long.
Yeah. And then he goes, I want to invite you to come with me to go to my best friend's wedding. And she's like, okay, cool, and everything. And then it's, yeah. And he's like, it'll be crazy. And then you find out through people taking pictures of them at like the restaurant they're eating at and everything that like, oh, Nick Young is somebody that everybody else knows about, that he's been hiding this, that he is crazy rich. His family is.
Like literally the landowners of Singapore, basically.
Yeah, like he's basically royalty without him like actually having like a crown. But yes, so everybody knows him, and he's rich, and he's been hiding this whole time. And what comes with that is a lot of baggage, a lot of drama that Rachel gets put into because she was not living that life, and Nick was not living that life when they were together dating for the past year.
He was trying to, be out of it and enjoy life on his own, stay away from the family money. Like she comments several times, like, you've been this person this whole time, but like, you're such a cheapskate. Like, he's always pawning off her food and, all these other little things. And he's just like, it's just what I do. It's just who I am.
Yeah. Then you get introduced to, which it seems like their first night there when they finally leave and go on their trip, like they meet like Nick's best friend and his future wife. Like they hang out and enjoy like a bunch of street food, have a bunch of time, and then it turns into like serious business. Now Rachel has to meet the family.
The family.
Well,
but you meet Aquafina first. Aquafina
yes,
first.
You can't forget. Yes.
Oh, yes.
Rachel's best friend from college.
Who in herself is also like stupid rich.
Yes. But not,
but like
but
new
she's
rich,
new money
not
rich.
Old, yeah, she's nouveau rich, not old rich, which I found that hilarious. Like her family is also rich and they have this big mansion and everything, but then when she makes it over to like the Young's mansion, she has just lost all like composure and etiquette and everything, and she's just being Aquafina, but
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
she just like completely forgets how
She's
to
such
like.
a joy in this movie.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. Although it was weird seeing her with like short blonde hair, that caught me off
Oh my
guard.
gosh. It's a look, yes.
What did they call her later on, like the Asian Ellen or something like that?
Yes, I died at that line. I was like, I totally didn't remember this. I was like, oh my gosh. But I mean, Aquafina in general is such a quirky person, and then of course she always plays fun, quirky characters. And then, you know, not only is like her character self, but of course she has a very unique family.
Unique.
Very special,
Quirky.
but also yeah. Yeah, quirky, disturbing, but sweet at the same time, but also like creeper alert.
Ken Jeong is her father, if that tells anybody anything.
Yep. That's all. That's all you need to say. Explains it all. But yeah, before they go to the Young's mansion, that's what also cracks me up. Just everything like about Aquafina's character, but her car when she's like, "Oh, I'm invited to the party," and pulls out her inside her
the
car.
dresses, like she has like dresses in the back her trunk, and what she has like the cocktail dress.
The like day after or something, I can't remember.
There's like she has like a walk of shame dress.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
And there was another one. I can't remember what it was.
I think it was clubbing or something. Maybe.
Oh, clubbing. Yeah, clubbing.
Yeah.
Cocktail and then walk of shame.
Yep.
And then Rachel's just like, you have a cocktail dress in your trunk, and she's like, I'm not an animal, Rachel.
Yeah. Yep. And then immediately, when she gets inside the mansion, just taking selfies everywhere and being like, "Oh, I get to use the fancy bathroom to change in if I must." But it's such like a complete opposite to like Rachel, our main character, who I think is definitely a lot more serious and everything. And like, this is not what she's used to. This is very glitzy, glamorous lifestyle that she's trying to put herself through and try to make it through, which I think it's like, you know, it plays it to the whole thing about like meeting the family in any type of like romantic comedy situation. There's always like, it's always a big deal, which I mean, in real life, it is definitely a big deal too, meeting the family members and wanting to impress them, but then just also just having this whole idea of having no true context of how luxurious and the life they live, and then because she's a lowly quote like commoner, then you know they're gonna look down on her, and then that plays into.
Well, yeah. So, and we get a lot of those kinds of tropes, just like in American movies. But then to take those that like, well, yeah, like we're rich and you're not, but they add not a lot of, but they add a little bit of like almost racism in there too. Because a lot of the family, they're like, well, you're Chinese, but you're Chinese American, and that's not the same thing, because you have no sense of like cultural expectation. You don't know what it is to like work for other people to build up those around you instead of focusing on your own happiness, which is a very Asian community mindset. So there's a lot of like, that's especially like what Michelle Yeoh's character deals with, in finding out who her son's girlfriend is, you know, facing each other on these two opposite sides of the playing field, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's just definitely like, like you said, really delves into like the different cultural perspectives and expectations, because like it's what like Rachel's character, like she talks about too, like with her mom and stuff, like because you find out more about her family and stuff, but in general, like her mom like came to America, worked really hard to like get where she was at, and she wanted her daughter to succeed as well. And like that American mindset is truly like, you know, working hard, getting a good job and everything, like that's like the dream and the happiness there. And then seeing that, and I think it also plays into part about, for I think there's many people who also like, it's that challenge for Rachel's character being like not Asian enough or not American enough at the same time, and stuck between two worlds, and then just having it like thrown in her face, like when she is visiting the Youngs and everything about, yes, you are not, you're just American, and with your American ways, you can't match with our society here. That's
as, I mean, as a regular old white guy, that's not really anything that I'll ever truly understand. Being forced into the middle, but then also outcast by both groups, kind of thing. I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, but I think it's always like, it's good to have like these stories too and stuff, like for having a mainstream movie like delve into this and talk about these topics that we normally don't see. And I think it does a good job as well of, you know, at least for like Rachel's character's point of view and everything, a standpoint on that. And Which, honestly, like, I feel like this movie being, like, labeled as a romantic comedy, to me, it was a lot more, like, heavy family drama at the same time. Like, it had funny moments, but it
Oh
was, like,
yeah,
it
for
was
sure.
more than just a, like, silly movie. There's so many different layers to this movie and a lot going on.
And even like the ending, or the ending portion,
Mm-hmm.
when things are really just going a bunch of different directions, you know? Like I
Yeah.
sat at the end of that movie and I was like crying. I was like, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
Oh my gosh,
It
yeah.
got me. It got me so good.
No, for real. Yeah, there's so many subtleties and everything. Because I think so because I watched this movie in theaters when it originally came out, and then I watched it again recently to like refresh my memory and stuff. And I think because I went into the movie originally as it being a romantic comedy, I was just like, oh gosh, this movie is not funny, and like this movie is depressing. It is a heavy movie. I can't. I was like, oh no. But then just kind of like watching it again and going into more and being like, no, you can like it's a well-rounded movie in the sense it covers all kinds of emotions you'll feel, and yeah, it definitely does hit those hard topics and everything. And it was also really enjoyable to watch it again, just picking up on certain things, either like certain like cultural aspects or things that they specifically put in the movie, because and it was also good, like they didn't explain every little thing that was happening, but they like talked about some like the traditional things they did in the family, like making the dumplings and stuff. But then they would cover like they would do all like the really luxurious shots of all the different like cuisine or different like sweets they were making and stuff. So that was pretty cool.
I really wanted one. It made me want to make dango really bad.
Yes, I was like, oh, all this food looks delicious. But kind of going like, okay, so the cast, I'm not sure, like I feel like definitely a lot more of these actors have been in like some more things and everything, but like, okay, I don't know if you're familiar with the lead actress who plays Rachel, Constance Wu.
I don't. I couldn't recall if I had seen her before.
I had seen her before she was in this movie. She was the mother on Fresh Off the Boat. It was an ABC sitcom basically about a Taiwanese American family that moves from like DC to Florida because the dad wants to open up a steak restaurant. It's called like Cattleman's Ranch. Like he wants to really live the American dream, so he opens this like super western like style like southern restaurant in Florida. It's like loosely based off of I think it's Eddie Wong. I think he's like a chef. It's like the show was initially like loosely based off his life, and then it just like it really skews from it because it
Yeah,
goes
but
on for
just
quite
kind
a
of
few
spirals
seasons and
into something
everything. Yeah,
different.
yeah, it's crazy. It's pretty fun, but yeah, it's quirky, and yeah, she is a very unique mother on that show. So it's fun seeing people in different roles and surprising you.
Absolutely.
And then Henry Golding plays Nick Young. I didn't know him from too many things. I know that after this he makes that romantic comedy. I think it's romantic comedy with the girl from Game of Thrones.
Emilia Clarke.
Yes.
Oh, Last Christmas.
Yeah.
Got it.
And then, well, another one who's like kind of like a side character, but who becomes a big part of the story with Rachel and everything is like Nick's kind of quote like not really normal, but very sweet, caring, like almost friend, like confidant, which is Astrid, who's played by Gemma Chan, who she's been in a lot of things recently. Some
I
people might
love
know her
her.
from The Eternals.
The second she showed up on screen, I was just like, and yes, we're done. I love
Yes.
her so
Yeah.
much.
Oh my gosh, I loved her character too, and just everything that she went through.
She has such a good story. It's not a complicated story, and it's not very long. It's just throughout the whole thing, and I I felt like her situation was not. It wasn't very cut and dry. You know, like the story that she goes through, like not to spoil anything. It wasn't. You couldn't blame one person or another person. I felt like it was just such a bad situation. I felt like on both sides of things. Although what her character says at the end of the movie really wrapped it up though.
Yeah.
Like we both had our problems in this relationship, but I dealt with mine and you didn't deal with yours. Like
Yeah.
you did, but not in the best of ways.
Yeah.
um,
You like were immature about it
yeah,
basically, and just
you didn't want to like grow up and handle yourself. You wanted to just blame other people.
yeah.
I felt that her character was such a good character. I was so afraid that she was going to do a 180, and it turns out she's outwardly a very nice, beautiful, caring person, but really she's like the shadiest person I'm so afraid that was going to happen to her.
Yeah.
I'm glad it didn't. It didn't.
Yeah, it didn't.
It didn't. She's an angel and she stays an angel. It's fine.
Yes. And she's thoughtful too. Yeah. She's not as basic as some of the other side characters we see, or those who are just,
Eye roll.
you always get the frenemies or not frenemies, the mean girls for sure.
And she is not one.
In a rich society, yeah. There's always mean girls.
Be weirder if you weren't.
For real. But so the director who directed this movie, John Chu, so after he directed Crazy Rich Asians, the latest movie that's come out that he's done, he did In the Heights, I mean. Yeah, In the Heights.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And he is currently working on Wicked. They're turning Wicked into a film.
Oh, I didn't know that he was the one doing Wicked.
Yes.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. So that should be really interesting to see, because also that cast, and also Michelle Yeoh is also in that movie as well.
Good.
Yep.
She should be
more
in
Michelle
everything.
Yeoh for everybody. Yes. Everything, everywhere, all at once. There you go. The joke will never get old. There you go.
Nope. Because it's true. It's not a joke. It's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. We could probably go through the whole cast, but there's plenty of other ones, like well-known comedians who's like, they try to play like semi-serious roles in this, and they're like over the top hilarious. Like there's the one comedian who plays like I don't know if he's like the cousin with the family where you have to take the picture at the right angle, don't move, and we want to be on Vogue, but
he's
wearing the wrong dress. Yeah.
There's the casting of this movie is just wonderful. Every scene, like every time they introduce a new person, you're like, oh.
Yeah. Like, oh, that's what it is. It's fun. And we've talked about, like, you go through all the emotions of this movie, but it's full of all kinds of fun. It's very bright and colorful most of the time. There's like so many. Okay, I want to talk about probably one of my favorite things in this movie.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing is leading up to the wedding.
Well, I was about to say, was it the wedding?
Wedding scene. Oh my gosh. I was like, this is so ridiculous, but I love this, and I probably would have wanted this for my wedding. Like, how could you not?
They're like, oh, they spent $40 million on the wedding. Like, okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Just pocket change there, of course.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But that whole scene is just so amazing, where like there's all like the grass around them and they're seated, and then they
have the flowers.
Yes.
Yeah. And then
they hold
they hold the flowers up so like they can walk under the flowers. But then like when they flooded the
oh my gosh,
the walkway, like, for the bride to walk down, and so like all the flowers, I freaking died, man. I freaking died. I was just like, I'm getting married in November and I need this now.
Yes. It was so cool.
And it's such a cliche, but like they had the one artist singing oh my gosh, the Elvis song, I Can't Help Falling in Love with You. And they had her singing that, and I'm just like in tears. I've never had that moment before. I'm just like, this is my perfect wedding.
Yeah.
Well, I had it, so here we are. Somebody lend me $40 million so I can get this going.
Yes.
Or a garden hose, I guess. I'll make it work.
Yeah. Improvise. But oh my gosh, yeah, it was so beautiful and so amazing. Yeah. Best part. Best part of the over the top, like, just like about the crazy rich part. I mean, I think there's like, so many of the smaller scenes, some of the things you've even talked about with like Ashford's character, like having that conversation and everything. There's just so many like subtle moments, and even between Rachel and Eleanor, Nick's mom and stuff, like they have those moments. Like there's a scene later on, I'm just gonna say it's about mahjong. That scene's really great.
That scene is so cool. Oh my gosh, there were and there were so many, like, because it goes back to the very, very, very first scene where she's teaching their students about the psychology of like poker and stuff like that, economics. There are so many things, like if you understood what she was saying, there's like 10 things going on in that scene while they're sitting there talking and playing mahjong. Like, I was like, oh my god,
so smartly done. Yeah.
The second she sat down and I was like, oh, they're going to be playing like while, like, I was ready for 4D chess. I was like, oh my gosh, yes. I was mentally immediately prepared.
Yeah, so good. And I mean, Crazy Rich Asians is the first in a book trilogy. So it's kind of like, when are the rest of them happening? Because I read something that originally they were going to film the second and third ones back to back in 2020, but then we all know that everything changed. The pandemic hit. So it's kind of been like, just like put on hiatus. I think one of the writers even left. So, and then because of everybody that's involved in this, they're doing so many other projects right now that this is just even getting pushed back more. So hopefully we'll see something, because I don't know, like, we've been kind of talking about this movie that we enjoyed it. I mean, would we recommend that people watch this movie?
If assuming that you haven't already, yes, absolutely.
Yes, for real. It's currently available to stream on HBO Max, so get it while it's still there. Well, I think that's kind of our wrap up, our discussion on Crazy Rich Asians. Let us know if you have seen this movie and what you thought about it, because I hope that many people have already seen this movie, but if not, yes, like we said, you can catch it on streaming on HBO Max or rent it wherever else. But for now, that will do it for this week's episode. Thanks so much for listening. Be sure to follow along on our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at PodDemastered. Also subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes, because our next episode will round out our month of May and we will be covering a video game. So we're excited to talk about that one, and we hope you tune into that episode. Thanks for listening.